Shalom, friends! Welcome to Orange Socks, a podcast celebrating Jewish creativity. I'm your host, Yitzchok Moully, inviting you to join me in exploring the soul of Jewish expression. Shalom, friends! Welcome to the Orange Socks podcast, and sitting here with Rabbi Zash Wircberg, Rabbi Zash, somewhere in beautiful Philadelphia, sitting outdoors on a beautiful day. And thank you.
No, thank you. It's a two-way street. Eastern Parkway is a two-way street.
Eastern
Cars
Parkway.
going.
And 3rd Street in Philly is only a one-way street.
One-way street.
So, are you an artist? Do you define yourself as an artist?
Good question.
Because I know you as the rabbi of the Old City Jewish Art Center, right? We got that right?
Yeah. I'm not sure if I saw it in Kabbalah or Hasidus or Jewish mysticism somewhere, or I'm making it up on the spot. But I want to say it's definitely rooted in Jewish philosophy that there's different chambers where your soul comes from. Souls are rooted in different sources. And a righteous individual, one holy individual, has one type of soul. And I like to say also that souls you come from, he's a dentist, he's a lawyer, he's a doctor. Sort of God draws down the soul and the garments of the soul, what you're destined in your 9 to 5 or your professional occupation is. So some people are maybe not necessarily draw or dance or musicians or poets and so forth and so on, but sort of they come from the heichel, the medur, the chamber of art. So I would like to say my soul somehow God drew it down, not from the doctors for the medicine or the lawyers or the accountants. I would like to say from the world of art. Yeah,
I would say so for sure.
Yeah.
Listen, to be a director of a gallery, you definitely have to have a feel, a chush, to say in Hebrew, Yiddish, I don't know. Definitely a taste of the arts.
Mm-hmm.
How long has the gallery been around for, and how long have you directed?
Yeah, so the Old City Jewish Art Center, as we just call it, JAC, the JAC, in Old City, in the very historic district in Philadelphia. It's been around since fall 2006, completing its Chai years.
Oh, wow.
I personally took it over, my wife and I, and sort of running the day-to-day operations and the art exhibits and so forth and so on in fall 2014. So we're pretty much fall 2024. It feels like yesterday that we moved from Brooklyn, from Crown Heights, to take over the Old City Jewish Art Center. But definitely it's a lot of fun, a lot of creativity.
You want to know a little trivia?
Hit it.
I was offered the job of being director of the Old City Jewish Art Center.
The founder
Did you know that?
The founder of the gallery, Rabbi Schmidt, who came to Philadelphia in 1980. So he's been around a while. He started the gallery. We'll hear the story in a minute, but he keeps telling me, Rabbi Moully turned it down,
Oh, really?
big socks, big artist socks you have to fit in, So I was like, oh, this is really a big shoe to fit,
So the truth is, we didn't turn it down because of the gallery. I love the idea, and I wonder what would happen in an alternative reality if but the irony is that the chinuch, the education at the time, the cheder wasn't here.
Right.
So we were leaving. We were like, the kids were in the Morristown cheder, and it'd be a step away for the kids' tuition, education. So we turned it down on those grounds. Today, there's a thriving cheder, the thriving Chabad school in Philly. So listen, God knows what He's doing.
But also, I don't mind stepping back and letting new fresh blood come in. So anytime you want to take over,
I'm glad you
the director, assistant director.
I'm glad you think I am new fresh blood. Okay, I'll take that as a compliment.
Creative director, yeah.
So what did Rabbi Schmidt say? I mean, you're continuing a legacy.
Sure.
But what's the purpose of this gallery?
Yeah.
What's the need? What need does it fill? And
for a lot of grant writing, they always want to know the void, the purpose, not only the mission, but what are you here to accomplish? that is lacking and missing. And I think about that a lot. Many different answers come to mind. It speaks to many different voids and different needs. It has many different languages. The art is a universal language. So I like to start off with saying we explore or spread or share the universal languages of Judaism through the universal language of the arts, where art and community meet, where Jewish art and philosophy meet with the gallery. But I would that's mostly the Jewish Art Center, a nonprofit art gallery here in Old City. Rabbi Schmidt, it bothered him that since 1990, Old City used to be very industrial, like a lot of areas in all over the U.S. where before it was developed, how do they get developers, get people in? Through the artists offer them some spaces, cheap rent. So Old City, what is now one of the most expensive zip codes in Philadelphia to live in rent, was actually then very industrial. People didn't want to walk past 6th Street. We're on 3rd Street. 6th Street is where the Liberty Bell is, the Independence Mall, the Constitution Center. Nobody really wanted to walk past 6th Street at night. So artists, of course, we say Pasach v'salu asaderech. They paved the way. They made it work. And then, of course, all developers came running and put their claws in when they smelled success. So it used to be a lot of industrial companies and a lot of factories. I like loving at the pictures of the horses on the street. All the rich history of America here in Philadelphia. But there is this big First Friday art walk, art crawl, art hop, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But
First Fridays.
But Old City Philadelphia claims at least that they started it in America. They market it, and then everyone else in other states copied it and imitated it. But they claim in 1990 they were gallerists were trying to figure out how do we get people past 6th Street at night. It wasn't so safe. And how do we get people to brick and mortar to look at art? So they started marketing First Friday in Old City, and it took off. It became like this little mini festival.
Every once
a month, the first Friday of the month, of the secular month, not the Hebrew calendar, the first Friday of the month. And galleries normally will close 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon. Here they said they all got together, galleries and pop-ups and artists and creatives. They said we're gonna close at 9 o'clock at night, and then we'll be able to get suburbs into the city dwellers, tourists, visitors, and college kids started rolling in along with the bubbies and Zadis, with the grandmothers, along with the tourists, along with the people.
Really, it became a thing.
It became a thing.
You got to be
sort of what's in Chelsea, maybe First Thursday or Soho, or I've been to Kansas, and I opened the paper, I remember 20 years ago, and it was like First Friday in Kansas Art Walk. And these 4 radius blocks, there's going to be, it's all saturated. You could go out on night with your wife or with a lover or with a significant other or by yourself and pop into galleries. Nobody will bother you. On a Wednesday afternoon, the gallerist will chase you around the block. Would you like to buy? Would you like to see it? You don't want to be focused. The light shouldn't be zoomed on you. People like their own time looking at art, taking it in. You'll come at an opening. Galleries will be open. Artists will be there present at their opening. Of course, wine and cheese will be served. Can't go. Food reaches the heart and beyond. That's the way.
What do you think attracts people? I mean, before we even get to the Jewish arts, but why? Yes, the wine and the cheese. Are people just coming for wine and cheese? What does art do? You as a gallerist, what have you seen before we even get into Jewish art?
Sure.
Why is it such a success? And what is it about art that draws people in?
There's many philosophies. I'm sure this has been a philosophy question since the ages. Since I guess the beginning of creation, art, what is it? Mahu, maze, what is it? What's the definition? many answers. Of course, Shiva Pan Later, 70 languages, 70 faces to explain. And in that Pshat Remez Drush Side, you have 4 different ways to explain it. But I would say what comes to mind just right away is art is something ruchni, a little transcendent. It's not your steak and wine dinner at the steakhouse, and it's not the pub. It's something beyond. It's something more spiritual. It's taking something out of the ordinary and making it extraordinary. Peeking in a little deeper. Everyone today, we take our phone, we take a picture. But a photographer, you capture the moment. An artist, you peeked in deeper. You peeled the layers off. You've seen something that you haven't seen. Take a moment to reflect, to introspect, and transcend something that day to day. It's a time for reflection when you walk into an art gallery. It's not an ice cream shop. It's not a bath shop. It's a time you're walking to a spiritual synagogue, a spiritual Beis HaMedrash, a spiritual place where you're going to focus inward. You're going to look at art. You're going to try to connect with the artist's soul, the meaning behind it, and so forth and so on. So I think what attracts people is human spirit wants to transcend. Animal spirit wants to pull us down. And the godly soul wants to pull us up. And art has that power of transcendence.
That's beautiful. I love the way you describe it, and I agree with you. But you articulated it very well. So First Fridays was a thing.
It became a thing in 1990, 91. Rabbi Schmidt, the Chabad rabbi here at University of Pennsylvania since 1980, like I mentioned, had to walk from synagogue, from shul on Friday night, sometimes to when his son-in-law and daughter lived in Old City, he had to walk through the streets to get to the Shabbos dinner where he was being hosted by his family.
Right.
And he started walking through the streets when they moved to Old City, a new route, a new few streets, and he's like, why is this traffic, and why is there hundreds and hundreds of people, many festival walking the streets, walking in and out of galleries?
He's coming every Friday night, and all of a sudden, every so often.
Well, his family just moved to Old City,
right.
So he started, instead of going to South Philly, that direction, started walking to Old City from synagogue that is in Society Hill, and all of a sudden he's like, Old City has the first Friday, and it's been doing it forever, and I'm a shliach, I never heard about it. And of course, Jewish guilt and a little bit of responsibility on his shoulders, a Jewish rabbi in this in this town. We got to make a Jewish presence. So, Old City Synagogue, I think, wouldn't have maybe carved or hit it. People would have walked into the gallery to the right, peeked through, and then walked to the gallery on the left. If you started the synagogue, I think it wouldn't have taken off. They're there for the art. So he said, let's start the Old City Jewish Art Center and Art Gallery. A friend of his was a sort of known, famous photographer, established name here in Philadelphia, and said, let's smack on your beautiful photography. Right. Let's see how it goes. Right. Open the door. We'll serve chicken soup, matzo balls. We'll put out brownies outside. We'll say, come in for the art, stay for the rest became the slogan. Come for the art and stay for the rest. And let's see how it goes.
Right.
Photographer said, okay, Rabbi, even though, it's a little below me, putting in the Jewish arts, I'd rather be at the MoMA, but okay, I'll give it for you, Rabbi, anything for you for trial error. Right. The one who owned the building was very generous enough to provide the space for this trial, for this pop-up. And February 2006, Hot Chicken Soup came out, and Rabbi Schmidt said, let me see how many people come through the door. Hoshea, we'd count not one, not two. And when he hit 1,000 souls came through that door between 5 and 9, he said, I think trial and error is good, and let's try this again next month.
He said people came through the door the first time.
2006. But he said, what about Shabbos dinner? Right. I'm going to go home by myself, and he said, wait, after the opening, let's pull out chairs and tables in an art gallery and have hot soup, challah, chicken, hummus, wine, the whole shebang, right. The brownies, and let's invite them to stay for dinner. Right. When word got out that Old City has a First Friday free Shabbos dinner, people started coming back at 9 o'clock. There was no room. I think it could fit 60, 70, 80 comfortably. he had to get a few more chairs, and long rectangular tables came out from one exit to the other exit, and squished through. And the dinner could host about 70 to 100 people on a Friday night when he started it. Now, it was the winter.
Right.
So let's fill a little more with Teuchen. What's the point? We're going to try to explore Judaism, give people a taste of Shabbos, a taste of Judaism. Let's put some quotes along the wall. The meanings of the paintings, or the meanings of the photography, or meaning of the theme of the show. So he took out some free Freeman from Chabad.org, something from extract some ideas from Hebrew into English, and people started walking along the wall, taking a little bite to eat, and along with the photography and the painting, started reading the Hasidus, the Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah.
Right.
And they said, Rabbi, can I take a picture? And no photography on Friday night.
Right.
It's winter.
Come afterwards.
So they said, we didn't really care this month about the art, but this is what spoke to us, this quote, this meditation.
Right.
We need to tell you more. Can we have coffee with you?
Right.
He said, let's offer Kiddush. Even though it's not dinner, but people coming in, we're serving wine already.
Right.
It's nightfall.
Past
It's
shkia,
winter.
That's right.
Let's make Kiddush for them. So he makes Kiddush, and son made Kiddush, and he sees an older individual sitting in the corner, standing in the corner, and he was choking up, and hot tears were rolling down his cheek. And after Kiddush, they went over to him and they asked him, sorry, did we say something insensitive? Did we hurt your feelings? Did we say something not politically correct? He said, no, I just haven't heard Kiddush since my bar mitzvah. I'm 80 years old.
Wow.
When a rabbi hears that, a Chabad rabbi hears that, he's sold. Bring it on. 1,000 people, whatever it takes, whatever the rent is, whatever the expenses, we'll try to raise the funds and make it happen as a Jewish responsibility here in Philadelphia. So sort of that's the seed of the why of how it came about.
It's so epic. So I'm trying to remember the first time that I came for a First Friday. I don't remember, I don't remember when it was, but it was probably somewhere around 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere over there. Yeah, it's mind blowing. I mean, you do this once a month, but it's awesome. It's awesome to see the engagement, the excitement, the energy, just people coming, looking, sharing, and now Jewish people looking forward to it. I mean, you offer chicken soup matzo balls.
In the winter.
In the winter. Oh, it's only in the winter.
In the summer we don't offer hot soup.
Okay.
We
No hot soup.
offer you alternatives.
Right, but there's still a Shabbos meal.
The dinner, the openings, the 5 to 9, the walkthrough are still people crawling and hopping and walking in the gallery in and out. They're going in and out of galleries.
Right.
They're on a date night. They're on a family night. They're out with a friend. They're making it a thing, and then they end up for dinner at some restaurant. We tell them come back for a Shabbos dinner at 9.
Right.
And if they say we have dinner plans, I say we're doing this every month.
Right.
Nothing changed. 18 years later, we're still doing the same chicken soup, same matzo balls.
Right. No, Rabbi Schmidt's awesome like that. Like okay, there's a need. Let's fill it. Let's work out the how.
To keep things fresh, we change the exhibits every month.
Right.
So it's a constantly rotation. You saw something fresh, something new, a new theme.
Yeah. So tell me, I mean, that's one side. One side is the crowd who comes, but then, as a gallery, you're displaying artwork. So what do you have? What kind of Jewish art? But what kind of what are the directions? What are some of the themes? Some of the shows that you're exploring, or is there an overall theme to all the work that you have?
Yeah. So the overall theme is exploring Jewish universal messages through the universal language of the arts. So, but because we have the flexibility of changing exhibit every month, some museums, they change it twice a month. Come watch Chagall's museum, Chagall's exhibit. Come watch, Matisse.
The big shows, they'll keep up for 3 months, 6 months.
4 months. Other galleries stay maybe 2.5 months, depending on your galleries, depending on your center.
Every month you're doing another show.
Because we have a First Friday, the crowd is constantly coming. Keep it fresh, keep it new. Give more artists an opportunity, a chance to show.
You have repeat customers? I mean, the same people come every month?
from the artist perspective, from the
No,
artist
so I'm
side,
saying like
from the
the crowd.
it definitely created some core First Friday walkers and crawlers and hoppers who do this monthly.
Right.
Some people just do it once a month, once a year. Some people twice.
Seems like you needed to change. You need to change the show.
I
You
think
can't do the
also we want to
same.
give artists an opportunity to show. We want to constantly, if we keep you here 3 months, we're turning down a lot of other artists who
Right.
can't show.
So there's a waiting list on the artist side.
Absolutely. So over the years, we've shown hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of artists. And there was a show we did, I counted, we had 107 pieces of work by 57 artists.
Wow.
Each one could submit. There was a limit to the size, of course, but these 57 artists in the group show could submit 2 to 3 pieces. And then we hosted 107 pieces in our gallery walls. It's exposed red brick. Right. Starting to take a toll on our red brick because these are nails with a wire sitting right on top of it. Right. There are some white walls. I asked an artist, I really like your work. Will you show with me? A respected artist here in Philadelphia. Big, large, bold scale, beautiful paintings. And he said, no, I need white walls. But he said, I'll slap on the white walls for my show. Would you let me? I said, no, the red exposed brick, the warm and homey, cozy. Right. So I'm still waiting for him to change his mind.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. Artists, you don't want their art to clash with the red brick.
He has a vision. This is the way it needs to be
you don't
displayed.
want art to clash, and some art does may clash with a non-white wall.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yes, I trying to think it was once or twice, but my work has been on display in the gallery, and I'm honored for that.
Yeah, and it's a two-way street. We're honored and privileged also. We've hosted you over a few years, like you said, 2012, 13, so forth and so on. But then also when COVID hit, everything was outdoors, and then all of a sudden, all the restaurants popping up with outdoor huts. And your sukkah, the concept of we all belong in the sukkah, which I'm sure you could talk about now, we all belong in the sukkah, came about. So on sukkahs, we don't block the sidewalk. We extend the roof over the sidewalk. So if someone's coming from Starbucks at the corner and sipping on their Starbucks or munching on their cookie, and also they walk through the gallery, the street, the sidewalk right outside the gallery. It's a street level off the street right into the store. And they look up, they ate a cookie in the sukkah and they sipped their Starbucks. And the sukkah was always, we always used to ask artists to come and decorate and paint over it. And then came COVID 2020. We needed something fresh. People were hanging outdoors. They weren't really coming to the brick and mortar. Right. And came fall. So we asked you to come up with this brilliant concept that you did. And we had this beautiful sukkah till today. It's your sukkah that we all belong in the sukkah. Yeah. The concept of sukkahs. So if you want to expand upon that.
Yeah, no, it was a great project. I mean, you reached out to me, and it wasn't just the sukkah, but like the way you describe it, it's a unique sukkah that it's public property, and the sidewalk goes through it. So like people just will walk through the sukkah, they won't even realize they're walking through a sukkah. But this idea of we all belong, which is a theme that I was exploring at the time, I think connected to friendship circle and plurality and just we all belong. But this idea of we all belong in a sukkah, and the idea about sukkahs is it says kol yisrael roya leisha b'sukkah achas, which is that it's in theory it's feasible that all Jews could sit under one sukkah. That there's limited dimension in terms of height of the sukkah, but there's no dimension in terms of width. So a sukkah can be as big as it can possibly be, and you could fit as many people. You fit a whole stadium. It's not too high, but everyone can get onto one sukkah. So like playing on that idea, we all belong in the sukkah. And then also on top of that is you see the letters over when I made, instead of just each letter on its own, the letters overlap, and then when two colors overlap, they create a third color, so that when we get together, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. When the community gets together, when we all belong, we create something more. And you see that, First Fridays, if each individual came, it's quiet. It's in the gallery. It's just quiet. But when the crowd comes together, when people come together, You know,
What's beautiful also, there's always the area we're in, Old City, has just like every other zip code, different areas in town have a street festival. They block off the streets for a day, and they have tents, and they showcase the local stores, and the local come out and display it outside. They invite outside vendors, artists, food, etc. And here we are, smack boom. They track over 20,000 people.
oh, wow.
At the Sunday festival every year. And when do they do it? Smack in the middle of Sukkot, either right pre-Sukkot, Chol HaMoed, right where the Sukkah is right there.
Right.
And there is the Moully Sukkah. We all belong to the Sukkah. They're stepping inside. They're walking by. They are asked, you had this idea on one of the walls, I'm going to leave it blank and leave
Right.
some markers and crayons, and people could add
Add up to it.
what's their feelings, express themselves, their thoughts about where we all belong.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to know. All right, I got to come
So
for this festival. I got to come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I got to come back for a first Friday. That's for
You're
sure.
more than welcome. We'll plan something
Yeah.
in the making
It's awesome.
with your new work.
So, what are some of the highlight shows? What are some of the shows that stood out for you? And even more so, what are some of the shows that the public resonated with? What kind of work does the public, resonate with? And what do you see, the work that touches people spiritually, as you say?
It's there's so many over the years. Every month we're talking about 12, multiply that for 18. How many exhibits are that, and how many artists? But however, we let me start with unfortunate death, and then I'll go to life. But my mom passed away, I believe, in 2018, and or 2017 or 18. Either way, 1 year, a few years ago, I was trying to figure out how could I commemorate her yard site in a meaningful way to the community, to the Old City dwellers, to the Old City, to the First Friday walkers, and I said, I always was stalking an artist who has work at the MoMA, and she's local, and her name is Tremaine Smith, and I finally got in touch with her, and I said, how about we show your work that she went through a process after her mother passed away, and she created a whole body of work called The Art of Grief.
Wow.
And she displayed it with Penn Hospice at near Penn. So it hasn't been really properly showed. So I said, how about bringing it to the Old City Jewish Arts Center? And turns out I did not look at the calendar as I was planning this, because I was dealing with grief, she was dealing with grief, that it turns out the first yard site was the opening on First Friday in May of that year, commemorating her first yard site. So I knew Mom was looking down, this was the right thing to do. But I said, let's not focus just on grief. In Judaism, we just don't focus on the grief. There's a mourning period, 7 days. You do sit on the floor, you tear your clothes, and you let your hair grow, etc., with all the laws involved. But it's what follows, as you do get up. You cannot grieve. The soul doesn't want you to grieve. It wants you to get up and do things in its honor, elevate the soul, commemorate the soul, live the life that the soul wants you to live. And a lot of people, unfortunately, not judging, but it's very unfortunate. There's a lot of therapy for that out there, where they're stuck in the past. Their mom passed away, and 6 years later, it says it's the first day. So I said, let's not focus on just the art of grief, but let's actually, your body of work and what follows, sort of like getting back into the world, leaving Shiva, leaving Shloshim, leaving the first year yard site, where now it's prohibited against Torah, the Bible, to mourn the same way. And what follows. So instead of showing just an exhibit of the art of grief, we said the art of grief and what follows. That was a very meaningful, she got a lot of press.
Did she have
a whole body of work?
She
a
had
whole
work
solo show
that was...
but she created after her mom. She moved in with her mom to take care of her as she was passing away. And she did a lot of work on the floor. It was a whole very powerful experience. Got a lot of press, and thank God Penn Hospice sponsored that one. So that's what resonated. We did another heavy exhibit, The Art of Infertility, where a lot of artists created work that they were going through infertility, what it meant to them, and expressive work. They didn't have to necessarily be professional, established artists.
Right.
We don't only show professional, established artists. The beauty of changing every so often, we show sort of established artists, so to say, and then community artists. There is either you're getting into it or you're getting back into it. A lot of people
Right.
started a career. They stayed in Philadelphia. Life took them a different path, and now they're retired. And now they're getting back into the studio after 30, 40 years. We have we had a cardiologist who was the top at the hospital. On his own time, he goes to the basement and creates beautiful work.
Wow, that's awesome.
Sort of a lawyer in his own time, the creative side, a dentist. So there has been many different exhibits where we do brushes with cancer with an organization that a lot of people are paired up with someone who's going through cancer and all sort of types of cancer, and someone creates about a work based on their journey and experience, and we host the organization. So we have these different themes that are heavy, and then we have just your work that some are very heavy. The one you did after the tree in Pittsburgh, the synagogue in Pittsburgh,
Yep.
and then the one with the talit, with the blood. Remind me the name.
So that
tell
piece
us about that piece.
Yeah, so that piece is similar to what you're saying, the grief and the coming out of it. I mean, one thing just to comment on, it's wonderful that you're a Chabad institution that doesn't care about money. you're not a commercial gallery that's displaying works that can be sold, that want to be sold, and therefore displaying work along that line. But this is a community space, and so you're showing things that may not sell. Community it really is a community space, which is beautiful. Where you get the money from, that's someone else. All right, so you got good backers. So to talk about that piece, really, it's a two-part piece, and I don't remember if I displayed both of them together, but many years ago now, I was 2012, 2013, 2014, I don't know when it was, but there was a terrorist attack in Har Nof. Har Nof is a suburb of Jerusalem, and it was a Tuesday morning, and a group of Jews went to shul to daven, to pray as they do every morning, and terrorists got in and with cleavers and an axe, and it was a very gruesome terrorist attack, and a few rabbis were murdered, and Israel's a few hours ahead of us, so when we woke up, we all woke up to these incredibly gruesome, bloody scenes of this terrorist attack, and it cut so deep. It really touched me in a core, and I said I have to do something. I have to paint this. I have to memorialize this in some way, that just the river of time doesn't just go by. And so I called a Rav, I called a rabbi, and I said, can I take a talis and can I rip it? Can I rip a talis and use it to recreate the scene? Because the scene really was talisim, these talis ripped and strewed in blood, and it was gruesome. It was gruesome. And the rabbi said, yes, you can rip the talis, the body of the talis, as long as the corners, the tzitzis, stay intact, because that's the real mitzvah, is the tzitzis, and the body, the talis just kind of carries it. So you can do that. So I did. I created a piece, and it's red, and it's heavy, and it's this ripped talis, and there's this yellow, splatter that's reaching higher, the soul. And I finished it. I looked at it, and it was complete. It wasn't beautiful. Definitely wouldn't call it beautiful, but it achieved what it was meant to achieve. So as I'm standing there, it's done, and I'm looking at all my supplies, and I say, okay, this is not our whole picture. This is not our whole story collectively as Jews. Yes, this is a very, very sad day. This is a very, very sad moment, and this needs to be remembered. But this is not a whole story. And I had the rest of the talis there. I'm like, I have to make another piece with the rest of the talis. I said that in the moment. I packed up, I put it away. And as I'd go on tour, I'd go different places, I'd take this with me, and I'd tell this story. And I'd say, and I need to make another piece with this piece of talis over here. And for a year, I kept saying, I want to make a piece. And I didn't know what. And I was so stuck. And even the first yahrzeit of this terrorist attack came and went, I felt like a fraud. I really felt like a phony. I knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't know how to get there. And now that we're getting into it, what Tanya talks about the creative process. So I'm a big fan of Rabbi Yossi Paltiel, and we'll hear a podcast of him soon. But the way he explains, he has a class on Tanya in depth, and he's got 8 hours and 9 hours of introductions. I mean, it's a really in-depth class. And in chapter 3 of Tanya, in Perek Gimel, he talks about the 10 faculties of the soul. The Alter Rebbe, the Tanya doesn't go into all 10, but it talks about the first 3. Chachma bin Adas, Chachma being wisdom translated, but it's the creative process. So what does Tanya describe as the creative process? Is the word Chachma in Hebrew, the letters can be broken up. It's koach ma, the capacity, the koach, the strength, the tool of ma. Ma means what? It's the strength of what? The capacity of what? So what does that mean? And it's often talked about as like a flash of lightning, like, oh, it's just an insight. You get a flash of lightning, and then a light bulb, the light bulb moment. But he's saying, what happens before that? How do you get to this light bulb moment? He says that it's the capacity to say what? It's the capacity to say, I don't know. What does that mean? There's the idea of bittul, the idea of not self-nullification, but realizing that there's a greater power. So the process is you work on something. You think of an idea. You're working in the sciences, in the mathematics, in the arts, in anything that you have a problem. You have, this thing that you're dealing with. And you work on it, and you work on it, and you work on it. And at some point, you hit an impasse. At some point, you don't know. And you keep on working, you keep trying, but eventually you have the awareness that I don't know. It's beyond me. There's an answer. I don't know. And when you give up, and it's not giving up of like a child in homework, oh, I give up, I don't know. But it's you put in real work, and then you come to this impasse. That's step 1 of koach ma, of the ability to say, I don't know, the strength to giving up is the wrong word. It's called bittul in Hebrew, but it's there's something greater than me. There's something beyond me, and I'm not there yet. And I recognize that I am limited. And when you come to that, shortly thereafter, in a shower or in a walk and whatever it is, you have this flash of lightning. And the flash of lightning is relevant, is as great as the amount of work you did before, is the way it's described. And that's part 2 of koach ma, the capacity. And what he says, what he describes, Tanya describes, is it's your subconscious, your chaya yechida, your higher elements of your soul, your subconscious, talking to your nefesh ruach neshama, to your conscious soul. So that's his flash of lightning, and you get it in a flash. And you got to work on it fast. You got to take it from chachma to bina, which is the development, and then you got to develop that idea. And you can spend a whole life developing that one idea. And so in my case, I gave up. The first yahrzeit came. I didn't know. I knew I needed to make a painting that was positive, that was uplifting, with a piece of that talus, but I had no idea how. And then it was a Thursday night, and Sarah Litvin and Ariel Beagle, 2 beautiful young Jews living in Israel, were getting ready to get married. And it was a Thursday night before their ufruf, their ufruf, the Shabbat before. And her father and brother were driving to the Shabbat ceremony, to before Shabbat, Thursday night, to celebrate with them. And there was a terrorist attack, and the father and brother were killed, and the younger sister miraculously survived in the back seat. True miracle. And so here you have this young couple about to get married, the highest day of their life, and they're struck by tragedy. But they said the most powerful things, and they said, we're not going to let these animals take our joy. Am Yisrael is invited to our wedding. The Jewish nation is invited to our wedding. And they did. And from across the Jewish world, people, communities made raffles. Everyone put in $100. They made a raffle. One person pulled someone's name out, and that money was enough to send one person to the wedding. They do. I wish I went. I know friends who did go, and that wedding was so powerful. They did it in the big conference center in Israel, Bnei Umah, something, I don't know, in Jerusalem, the biggest space that they could find in Jerusalem, and thousands of people were there. And they told people, you got 10 minutes, go in, dance, wish Mazel Tov, and come back out because someone else wants to get in. And on the streets, outside, everyone's singing and dancing. Am Yisrael Chai. The Jewish nation is alive. And it hit me. This is part two. So I created and I took a photo from their chuppah, and it's a bride and a groom under a piece of talis, a chuppah with red splatter, ripped, and there's dark, there's light, and it's this interplay. And the second one I knew had to be bigger. So the first one's 40 by 40, second one's 48 by 48. Physically needed to be bigger, and so they sit together. And really, those are the only pieces that I've created that are not for sale because they belong together in a museum somewhere in Israel, sharing our collective Tisha B'av and Tu B'av. This, as you were saying, I'm sorry, you can see I get passionate about this, but
I'm almost
exactly,
sure we
this
had
grief,
both of them
the grief,
at the gallery.
but the grief isn't the whole story. That's, and again, today, post October 7th, this resonates so much more. And October 7th was Simchas Torah, and Simchas Torah this year, Simchas Torah is always, Simchas Torah is the happiest day of the year. So how do we hold these two energies is something that we're struggling with. And I created this, now this is a shameless plug, but a few Chabad rabbis reached out to me and said, could you make a Torah cover that communicates this idea? And I did. So there's a Torah cover that has 3 layers. The first layer is black, the middle layer is gray, and the third layer is white. And to recognize the black, to recognize October 7th and all the heaviness, and there's 2 figures, and they're dancing, and from them comes 1,200 spots of energy that come out of them, and that go around the back. So kind of it disappears, and then it comes back around the front, and it's this big Am Yisrael Chai. So again, trying to carry these 2, grief and joy. So
Oh, that's powerful. This year, Simchas Torah at our gallery, we host what we call sushi and vodka, sushi and stoli, and we get a lot of people. They come, the vodka, the sushi, to look at the art, and then we take the Torah. Even though we're not a synagogue, we get a local Torah, and we dance through the streets, pass north to south, past the gallery district, onto the clubs, lounge, and bars where they're all hanging out. And we take the Torah and we dance a few blocks through their clubs and lounges. People come out, offer us free l'chaim, kiss the Torah, remind them that it's Simchas Torah. And then we end up back in the gallery to finish our hakafot, our celebration. So this year, the Am Yisrael Chai, a couple tens of us, let's say 100, 150 of us, dancing through the streets on Simchas Torah. That year, it was for us, it was Shmini Atzeres. It was a Saturday, but then it was a Saturday night Simchas Torah here in diaspora in America. And we danced through the streets, screaming Am Yisrael Chai with this Torah. And just
after,
that evening, Simchas Torah in America. And just dancing away. And then the next day was that Old City Festival that I was telling you about, where 20,000 people come through. And the sukkah's out there in front of the gallery. And we go to synagogue, started off beginning in the synagogue, in the shul, take the Torah out, go through the streets on October 8th, Sunday, October 8th. Few blocks away, they're screaming at the park. They're having their first demonstration of to free, who knows what, to free. And here we're screaming with the Torah to the 20,000 locals, Old City Festival goers at the Old City Fest on Sunday, October 8th, here with your sukkah, dancing in your sukkah with the Torah. And we had it was an amazing turnout. And then did we finally realize what really occurred and really happened, and that joy sort of
only afterwards, because it was Yom Tov for us. We didn't know.
Of course, we had locals who were telling us and trickling the news and everything, glued to the TV and coming running into shul and telling us every so often.
In a way, thank God we didn't know on Yom Tov how intense it really was. Well, I get a question often, or every so often, so I'll throw that question at you. People ask me, so what impact does your art have? And I really don't know the impact necessarily. I get told here and there, but what impact does your gallery have? Or what impact do you know of that your gallery has?
You're right. Exactly. Our job in this world is to plant the seeds and water it. And God's job is that the fruit should grow. Now, to see the fruit of our hard labor, not necessarily you'll be zocha, you'll merit to see it. If you invest, if you The Rebbe told us to go Rebbetzin Relic in the early 60s
Right.
that I can't believe you're doubting the one who sent you to Italy
Right.
because you're not seeing instant gratification right away.
Right.
You're not seeing
The Rebbe
you're
said
the
that to
fruits
her?
of your labor.
The Rebbe said that
Said,
to her?
yes, you have to look at yourself. You gotta look at this unique, this life mission
Right.
that you're planting. The seed you grow, does it plant the same day?
Right.
The fruit might be later.
Right.
You're planting seeds. You're putting up art. People are coming in. You're serving them chicken soup. You're schmoozing with them. You may not see them again. It's Shabbos. Maybe you give them a business card, trying to ask them for their name and number, trying to install it in your
Right.
database on Shabbos
Right.
in
You can't.
in your mind. Um, Stay in touch. But to see the fruits, it's kind of hard. I'll say one thing that comes to mind is many people told me that I art, yeah, ahin, aher, maybe yes, maybe no. I'll think about getting into my art, or expressing my creativity, or right now focused on 9 to 5 and the daily the daily grind, my family. I'm getting pulled in different directions. I'm not, expressing myself through my art and my Jewish creative ways. And showing in your gallery, you asking me to show a piece in a group show, one piece, all of a sudden sparked. And something happened. I'm back in my studio now. Like, I'm back creating a body of work. I'm back to painting. I'm back to something, that energy, that creative flow. The juices started flowing. Something about that. Another thing, a person comes in, it's Hanukkah. We asked artists, have a call for artists to submit based on a theme of light. It's universal. Anybody could submit. Some people say the sunset, the whatever, however you can express it and connect it to the theme of light for Hanukkah. And then someone comes in, he looks through the gallery, he takes the time, a pediatrician, and he reads the quotes, and he taps me on the back and says, "Mission accomplished." I thought Hanukkah's about dreidels, latkes, some light. I just walked through and read all these quotes of the spiritual meaning of Hanukkah.
Right.
Light over darkness, the component of light, and deep mystical meanings of Kabbalah and Hasidus and Torah and Talmud. Hanukkah's not anymore about latkes. It's a whole different view of what Hanukkah is.
That's
And
awesome.
so there's a component of educating and a nourishment of the soul when you walk through and you take the time between eating one brownie and another and looking at the art to also read the quotes. And everyone knows that it's not the artist's statement. One time they said, "Wow, this art is very deep. this king in the field is connected to this mystical ideas of Elul with this field. And wow, the artist really went deep." I was like, I kept my mouth shut, let them think it wasn't the Kabbalah, it's the artist's the soul. We do have the artist's bio. We do have the artist's inspiration, of course, along the work that people could delve into. We don't distract. But one exhibit comes to mind. We spoke about it was Barbara Hines' exhibit, The Spotlight on Joseph.
Yes.
And we collaborated on that together.
We
had to
did.
fly out to Houston, and we had to practice, and then the launch of The Spotlight on Joseph. An exhibit, maybe you want to tell us what The Spotlight on Joseph, an exhibit by Barbara Hines. I'd like to hear, and then I'll pull some more teeth on you.
So it's already been a while now, but I mean, Barbara is a wonderful artist, wonderful person, great history, and we were like we share the Australian background and the artist background, the Chabad background. So she reached out to you, and it was also during, I think you were it was in the year of Shiva.
It was in the week.
It was in the week of your mother's passing. But I believe she did a whole body of work on Joseph. Who was Joseph? And Yosef HaTzadik, and how he interplayed with his brothers, and how he was misunderstood, and how he had spiritually he had a different mission to all his brothers, and they were blinkered and focused on the right way to serve God, and yet he had a different way, which to him was the right way to serve God. So from what I understand, from what I remember, those were some of the themes of being misunderstood and yet still forging ahead with what you saw right, and really that each of us have.
Me Too came out just about then.
Right.
It was the Me Too, hashtag Me Too and then it also sibling rivalry. Right. It's all coming back.
Yeah. Right. But I mean, the way I interpret it today, but maybe it's the lens that I look at life is that everyone has their mission. Everyone has their own way of serving God and their own, responsibility, responsibility, to serve God. I have my gifts, you have your gifts. We each have our talents that God, as you said, the souls in the beginning, and then use those. So that's how I read into Joseph standing up, sibling rivalry, but also, it's not just to follow the crowd, even spiritually, but to forge your own path, and to find the meaning within your soul. So,
And how's that going?
So far, so good.
So we did this together. The artist asked us to be Joseph. We took turns and wore this Xenos Possum, this
Technicolor Dreamcoat kind of thing.
And so it was a 2D, a 3D. It was connected with installations and with performance art as well at the opening of the exhibit in May of 2019 or 18.
So maybe that was the last
May
time.
2018.
Maybe that was the last time I was in the gallery for First Friday. All right, it's time I come back.
That's possible.
Put it on the calendar.
Yes, 2024 is coming. Hanukkah.
Okay.
Which I do have your work sitting. You have this long and narrow piece.
Right.
It's either it's the Shabbos candle. The Shabbos candle, long and narrow, and people. It's the first level street. People walk on the sidewalk. I keep the door open and they look through the window, and all they see when they walk in, what draws them in under the exit sign from all the way in the back, is your Shabbos candle piece.
Nice.
And what draws them in, and then they look at the other work as well.
Awesome. Oh, that's good to know.
And your prints definitely fly off the shelves. Prints are always a better sell than the original, even though some people say, no, I only want the original soul.
Yes.
The soul of the artist.
The soul of the artist. That's it. Okay, so I'm invited back.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I got one last question for you.
Sure.
It's my one scripted question for the Orange Socks podcast is, what's your advice to young creatives for them to find their orange socks, for them to find their creativity?
I think it's of course, again, 70 Shivim Panamatar, 70 interpretations. Every CEO is going to tell them how they became a CEO, and every millionaire is going to say how they made the first million. Or everyone's going to say their success story. But what I think is I might what just pops in to mind is someone who runs after kavod, as from Ethics of Our Fathers. The kavod runs away from you. The honor runs away from you. Okay. Someone who runs to kavod, the honor runs away. But if you run away from the honor chases you.
Okay, so how do you?
I would say if you're waking up every day, and people are saying, "How do I be happy?" If you're looking to be happiness is a state of mind. It's something that comes by doing, and then happiness all of a sudden falls, and the state of mind, the state of being of happiness. Like if you're looking at it as a loaf of bread, a commodity. Simon Jacobson loves to talk about this when it comes to Adar and when it comes to Simchas Torah, the universal message of Simcha, of joy, that everyone's searching. Why I want this? Because it will give me this. But why would you want the car? Why would you want the better phone? Because it will make me feel happy.
Right.
So happiness is the core of it all. So if we're constantly trying to look for the creative, I think you need to just constantly go with the spiritual ladder, your journey, your path, constantly seek, constantly be open, constantly go through your daily life. There's ups and downs. It's not smooth sailing. It's bumpy rides. It's a roller coaster, up and down. Ratza v'shuv, a whole day, back and forth, emotionally, financially, mentally, psychologically, family, everything.
Sure.
But if you waking up every day and saying, how do I accomplish this? How do I do this? Wake up every day, do what you need to do to meet in Kesidra on the consistent basis, and then Musafim Kol Chasam, the energy, the creativity will come.
All right. Beautiful. Rabbi Zash, thank you so much.
היום נעשה משהו בלתי נשכח